Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum friends. I hope all are you learning linguistics with Tia. Today we are going to talk about language learning and acquisition. First, have a look on the main objectives. You will be able to learn these concepts after going through this. First one is understanding the difference between language learning and acquisition and understanding Noam Chomsky Nativist theory of language acquisition, including the concept of language acquisition device. And the last one is understanding the stages of language learning and acquisition. So let's have a look on the contents that we will cover in this lecture. First one is the definition of language learning and acquisition. Second one is language acquisition and nativist theory by Noam Chomsky. And second last is stages of language learning and acquisition. And the final one is comparison between language learning and acquisition. Before moving to the first slide, I would like to tell you that you can get complete transcript of this lecture in the form of blog by clicking on the link given in the description section, that is www.linguisticswithtia.com. So never forget to like, share and subscribe Linguistics with Tia. To our first slide. Let's talk about what is language learning. Language learning is the process through which an individual acquires the ability to understand, speak, read, and write language. Language learning process occurs through formal instruction, such as in the classroom setting or through natural exposure to the language. The process of language learning involves the acquisition of both linguistics knowledge, such as grammar and vocabulary words, as well as language skills. Those are speaking, listening, reading, and writing. Factors that can influence language learning are age, motivation, and the instructional method. Language acquisitions refer to the process by which individuals gain the ability to understand and produce language. This process is taught to naturally and it is often associated with the development of children. However, it can also refer to the process by which individuals gain proficiency in second language. The study of language acquisition is multidisciplinary. It involves fields such as linguistics, cognitive psychology, and education. The process of language acquisitions typically involves the development of phonology, semantics, syntax, and pragmatics. It can be a natural process that happens without conscious effort, a conscious process of language learning. The study of how language is learned and acquired is known as second language acquisition or L2 acquisition. Language learning and acquisition both are within the umbrella of second language learning. So, second language learning refers to the process of learning a language in addition to one's native language. Language acquisition refers to the process by which individuals acquire the ability to understand and produce language, and it is often associated with language acquisition. So, both are used interchangeably. They can also refer to the slight difference. Example, second language learning, they refer specifically to the process of learning a second language in classroom setting. In contrast, language acquisition refers to the more general process of acquiring language through exposure and language use. Like in society, via communicating with others, you learn language. That is called acquisition. Language acquisition and nativist theory by Noam Chomsky. Noam Chomsky's theories of language acquisition, often referred to as nativist theory, proposes that the ability to acquire language is innate and that children are born with a language acquisition device that is called LAD, allows them or the learners to learn the grammar of their native language. Chomsky's theory suggests that children are born to learn the grammar of a language without explicit instruction. They are able to do so at a very young age. According to Chomsky, children go through the following stages of language acquisition. First one is the pre-linguistic stage, starts birth to the 1 year. This stage, infants use gestures and sounds to communicate with others. Second one is the one-word stage, is from the first year of life to 2 years. During this stage, children begin to use single words to express their wants and needs. It is the two-word stage from 2 to 3 years of the kid's life. In this stage, children begin to use two-word combinations to express more complex ideas. The second last is the telegraphic stage from 3 to 4 years. In this stage, children begin to use telegraphic speech, which is characterized by omitting function words such as the or is, using only content words such as dog and run. The last one, according to Chomsky, is the fully formed stage, 4 years and older. During this stage, children begin to use fully formed sentences and have mastered the grammar of their native language. Let's create difference between language learning and acquisition. Language learning is a conscious effort of gaining knowledge and skills in language, and language acquisition is the natural process of development individual language proficiency, which can happen without formal instruction. Language learning process enables the learner to understand, speak, read and write language. This process occurs through formal instructions, such as in classroom setting or through natural exposure to the language. The process of learning involves the acquisition of both linguistic knowledge, is the grammar and the vocabulary words, the target language, and the language skills are speaking, listening, reading, and writing. Factors that influence language learning include age, motivation, and teaching methods. Language acquisition is the process by which individuals gain the ability to understand and produce language. This process is thought to occur naturally and it is often associated with the development of children. It also refers to the process by which individuals gain the ability or proficiency in a second language. Study of language acquisition is the study of children's psychological development or cognitive development. So the process of language acquisition typically includes the development of phonology, semantics, syntax, and grammatics. Let's have a look on language learning and acquisition similarities and difference. Process. Learning language have different process, but the objective is same, that is acquiring or learning any language. That can be first or second. Usually language learning is associated with the learning second language. Language acquisition is associated with the first language or acquiring the first language. Both language learning and acquisition involve the development of linguistic development, language skills. Both processes lead to the ability to understand, speak, read, and write in a language, and both are influenced by factors such as age, motivation, and environment. Are the similarities in both concepts. Look on differences. Learning is typically a deliberate and conscious effort using classroom setting or through language courses. In contrast, language acquisition is a more natural process that occurs through exposure and use. Language learning typically refers to the process of acquiring second language, while language acquisition refers to the process of acquiring a first language. Learning is associated with formal instruction. Classroom setting, in contrast, acquisition is associated with natural exposure, like communicating with speakers of that language. Learning emphasizes the study of grammar and vocabulary words. Language acquisition emphasizes the ability to use language in real life situations. Language learning is more aware of the language structure, while in language acquisition the process is unconscious. Both language learning and acquisition are important and significant for becoming a proficient. Language learning can be more structured and efficient way of gaining proficiency in language, while language acquisition can provide more natural and authentic language experience. For example, college students taking a Spanish or English class to learn English or Spanish language is the example of language learning. In contrast, a child growing in a bilingual household and naturally acquiring both languages through exposure and use is the example of language acquisition.